Hey guys, I'm Olivia Reese.
And I am Kaylee.
And welcome to Disney Channel. Hey guys, I'm Olivia Reese and welcome back to my channel. It's been a really long year. Literally, it was April of last year that I filmed a video. And today we brought you the modern day, timeless, romantic, beautiful bridal look. Especially because right now it's April, the end of April, and May and June are packed full of weddings. So I went ahead and did what I thought is just a beautiful, classic, timeless bridal look on my BFF Kaylee. So if you're interested in learning how to do this look and you'd like to just learn some tips and tricks, or you know, just hang out with us, you're more than welcome. Just keep watching the video. First thing you really want to do is make sure that your client's skin is really nice and prepped. So we're going to go in first with the Miscellar water. You can use any kind of Miscellar water, but this one is my favorite. And we're going to go ahead and get her skin really nice and clean. And then we're going to prep her skin with the Deep Hydration Face Cream from Fresh. And we're also going to prep her lips with the Sugar Rose Chapstick from Fresh also. Okay, and the first thing we're gonna do is I'm gonna start with her eyes. When I do a client's makeup, I typically do start with their eyes just for fallout purposes and anything like that. And I'm very like handsy. I touch her, like her whole head when I'm doing eyes or eyebrows. So yeah, we're gonna start with her eyes and then we'll do her skin. And we're gonna prep her eyes first with the Tarte Shape Tape Concealer in the shade Light Medium Honey. And for application for the concealer, we're just using a Real Techniques Beauty Sponge. And we are lightly misting it with the Urban Decay All Nighting Setting Spray. So when I prep Kaylee's eyelids, I go ahead and I do a really thin base all around the top of her eyebrow. That way when I go in with foundation, I'm not having to get too close to her actual eyebrow and mess that up, since I am doing her eyes first. And we're gonna go ahead and fill in her eyebrows. Today we're using the Covergirl Easy Breezy Brow Pencil. We're gonna go ahead and lightly fill in her eyebrows. And then we're gonna go in with the same Tarte Shape Tape Concealer and clean up under her eyebrows before we start her eyeshadow. So I always start when I do eyeshadow, right after I clean up under the eyebrows, I automatically go in with whatever highlighter I'm gonna be using on that client's face. So today we're gonna be using the Anastasia Beverly Hills highlight with AmRezy. So the first shadow that we're gonna go in with is from the Nude palette from Huda Beauty, and we are going to be using the shade Secret as her transition color. For the transition color, you want to make sure too that you always have your client open their eyes. That way you can make sure that when their eyes are open, you can see the right amount of shadow that you want to see. The next shadow that we're going to be using is actually a single shadow, and you can buy it in a couple of the Anastasia palettes, but it is Dusty Rose from Anastasia Beverly Hills. And by the way, we are just using a fluffy brush with synthetic hair. This is a Sigma E40. And we're applying this shadow in the same way that we applied the original transition color in the same area, but we're not taking it quite as high. That way you have a gradient from light to dark on her eyelid. The next shadow we're going to be using on Kaylee is the shade Vintage from Makeup Geek. Next, we're going to be adding a little bit of the shimmer to Kaylee's eye, and we're going to be using the shade Primavera from the Modern Renaissance palette. And we applied the lid shade to where it didn't look like a cut crease or anything, just really nice and soft, and just to help open the inside of her eye, to help that inner corner look really nice and bright. Last step for her eyeshadow, we're going to be adding the shade Cypress Umber, also from the Modern Renaissance palette, just to the outer corner, and not necessarily to look like a wing, but just to help with that almond shape and the elongation of her eye. And we're going to go back in with that same Sigma blending brush and just make sure that nothing on the eyelid is looking harsh from that dark brown. We're going to go ahead and use the makeup removing towels from Neutrogena and remove any kind of fallout from under her eye. And real quick, to add one more thing to the eyes, now that all the product is removed from underneath her eyes, we're going to take that same highlight we used on her brow bone that we'll later use on her face, and we're going to go ahead and highlight her inner corner. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and start Kaylee's skin. The first thing we're going to do is prep her entire face with the Urban Decay All Nighter Setting Spray. Now Kaylee does have combination skin, so in some places she's getting dry, some places she's getting oily, and I hardly ever use anything like oil based on a bride, knowing that it does have to last all day and it has to look very good in photos all day. The second primer we're going to use on Kaylee's skin is from Hourglass. It is the Mineral Veil Primer. It has a little bit of a purple tint to it, which really helps with brightening the skin, and this one is incredibly smoothing, so it gives you a perfect base for foundation. For foundation today, we're going to be using the Smashbox Studio Skin 15-Hour Wear Hydrating Foundation. Now we are matching her face to her neck because she is much tanner all over her body than her face is. So next we're actually going to go in and we're going to do cream contour today. And I love doing this on brides because I really think creams as a base and then powders on top have incredible longevity. So for her cream contour today, we're going to be using the Chanel Soleil Tan. And And we're going to be applying this anywhere you would apply your powder bronzer. So all around her forehead, through her cheekbones, all really around the perimeter of her face, just to add a really nice layer of warmth as her base. And then later we'll go in with concealer. With this product, I do think it's easier to go ahead and work in small areas. That way you don't have to go back and try to move that product again and it not really be as mobile as it was when it was freshly applied to the skin. So we're gonna work in small areas at a time. When I'm using any kind of cream bronzer, I always go in with the bronzer before I go in with my concealer, because directly after I go in with concealer, I am setting it with powder, and I find it a little bit hard for me to go in with cream contour right after I've used powder under the eyes. So now we're gonna go ahead and do her highlight under her eyes, her forehead, and her chin, and her nose. And for that, we're also going to be going back to the Tarte Shape Tape in the same shade, Light Medium Honey. And for concealer, I find that I really don't have to use too much. I really think less is more because it quickly becomes a little bit cakey. And you've already got a really good base on when you go with foundation. And she doesn't have any kind of like corrective work to do. So in her case, less is definitely more. And right after we get all of the concealer under her eyes really nice and blend it out, we're gonna go ahead and bake under her eyes. And you really wanna make sure that right before you do this, you take that same sponge and you're eliminating any creasing, because if you go in with the powder before eliminating the creasing, you're really just setting any kind of creasing and it's permanently going to be there. So for today for baking, we're gonna be using the AirSpun Loose Face Powder in the shade Naturally Neutral. So now her under eyes are set, but the rest of her face is not. And because I don't like to use really like glowy base products that tend to be a little bit more oil based and tend to slide a little bit more, I go ahead and I apply the highlight directly on that damp skin. So for highlight today, we're gonna be using the same Anastasia highlight with a collaboration with AmRezy. And now we're gonna continue to set her entire face using the same AirSpun powder that we used to bake underneath her eyes. And then I also use setting spray in layers. So you know, we used it as a prep in the beginning before she had any kind of face makeup on. And now we're gonna do another layer now that her foundation, concealer, and like base loose powders on. We're gonna go ahead and set with the Morphe setting spray. But I really do think prepping along the way is really what helps all those different layers of makeup melt into one really nice finished product. Really quickly, we're gonna go ahead and finish the underneath of Kaylee's eyes, and we're gonna be using the same matte shadows that we used on her on the top lid. And we're applying these shadows in layers, starting with that lightest transition color and working until the darkest shade. Okay, next we're gonna be bronzing Kaylee's skin, and we're gonna be using the Marc Jacobs Tantastic Omega Bronzer. And for blush today, we're using the Hourglass blush in the shade Mood Exposure. And then for a blush topper, we're gonna be using the Nars Orgasm blush, and it's actually the loose one, so it's eliminating loose powder. This just adds a really nice, natural, like classic bridal glow on top of any blush. And while we finish a few last steps on Kaylee's face, we're gonna add a little bit of that AirSpun powder just underneath her bronze to clean everything up. And we are just ever so lightly gonna go in with the Kat Von D Shade and Light palette. And we're gonna be using the lightest shade that is called Lucid. For lipstick today, we're gonna be using a lip liner and a lipstick and probably a lip gloss. So while that bake is sitting, we're gonna go ahead and line her lips, and we're gonna be using the lip liner from NYX, and it is in the shade Toulouse. Once that lip liner is done, we're going to be going on top of it and using the liquid lipstick from Smith+Cult in the shade Kissing Tiny Flowers. And final step for the lips, we're going to be going in with the Smith+Cult lip gloss in the shade Now Kith. Pop them. We're going to go ahead now that the lips are done and we're going to wipe the bake off. And now that our last step is to apply mascara and then do false lashes, I'm going to go ahead and prep her face one more time, or set her face one more time with the same Morphe setting spray. And we're going to add one more little light dusting of highlight just to make sure that she is glossy, she's beaming, she's a queen. Where's... She's like, that's me, I'm glossy, I'm beaming, I'm a queen. Plot twist, lastly for her eyes, I'm going to go in with a nude pencil. And this is going to go in her waterline of her eye. And I'm using the MAC Studio Chemographic Pencil Crayon in the shade NC15. And this is really going to help to make her eyes look very wide and awake and open. And for lashes today, we're going to be using the Ardell Foaming Style in Wispies. Alrighty guys, this is it. This is our final makeup look on Kaylee, our classic bridal look. So this is something that's, you know, if you do makeup, if you have an interest in makeup, you could really do this on yourself at home if you're a bride, you know? It's just really classic and really soft, and, you know, just take the tips and tricks from this video and just apply them at home, and if you need to watch it over and over, watch it over and over. So yeah, if you like this video, just like, comment, subscribe, turn on your post notifications, and we will just see you in the next one. See you then. All right, bye. I'm like, can you hear me? Hello?
Don't you want to introduce yourself?
Wow, that was cute for the video. First, I have cough in your hand. Jesus, take the wheel.
It's gonna look so good. This my best friend.
Other way. This way, I think. Maybe this is fine. I don't know. Okay,
Either way.
try again.
Okay, go ahead.
If you want to see how we did this makeup tutorial, just keep on
Watching.
Are you good?
What?
You're like...
We're gonna do it one more time.